All right, I would now like everyone to welcome Sean, also known as Modern Mythos, to the pod. Sean, thanks so much for taking some time to talk to us today. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. It's I've been seeing the two of you guys' faces for a long time on TikTok, so it's cool to finally hop on and talk some long form and talk about some cool topics. I mean, you guys have some really cool stuff building, I think, and I love the blast concept, so I'm really excited to see what we get into today.
Hey, we're really glad to have you aboard. So Ty has been communicating with you for quite a while on what movie we wanted to talk about today, and after a lot of deliberation, we landed on Man of Steel. I gotta ask, what's your theater experience with Man of Steel? What makes this one such a blast movie for you?
Yeah, every time I talk about Man of Steel on social media, I get ripped or applauded, by the exact fan bases you're probably thinking of in your heads right now. And like for a long time, like I enjoyed movies, but I was like a big casual, And then I remember seeing the trailer for the first time for Man of Steel, and something felt different. Like I don't know if you guys remember that first trailer, and it's just like him flying in the sky, and he just hits the turbo on it, and it just like boosts out, and you're just like, what the hell is it? There's some wonder to it, right? So I remember like starting to like do some research on it, look into who's directing it, and that was the first time I really dove into that. And then I just remember talking about it, the hype engine for it. I was in college talking with my boys about it, and then leaving that theater, it just felt like the most influential movie to me in my like movie exploration experience. Like ever since then, I've been locked onto. Started with superhero movies, built out into the film bro variety, and then now as I get older, I'm trying to experience a lot of different types of film. So to me, I was just fascinated by it, the music, the action, the weight of it, the mythology. It just felt like they took things seriously, and that just really wrapped me in.
Hey man, you're making me smile here, Ty. I know this is a blast movie for you too. You want to talk me through that?
Yeah, well, we were Steve. You and I were not to age you, Sean, a little bit, but this was like early, too early for a theater experience for me. I didn't catch. I wasn't a big superhero guy back in what 2013. I think this movie came out,
Mm-hmm.
so this was like a back end DVD watch for me. Pretty sure it was a rental or a streaming rental, and fell in love with it right away because at this time the Dark Knight hype was at like an all time high, and we wanted darker, grittier, if that's what you want to call this movie. But that's what we wanted out of superheroes. And then Zack Snyder comes in with Man of Steel and gives me the Superman I wanted because growing up, I can't lie, I wasn't really a big Christopher Reeve guy. I always thought it was a little campy. Now I appreciate it, but when I was a kid, wasn't a fan. So this was my Superman, and will probably always be my Superman.
So I have never told you this, Ty. I don't think, but I did catch a theater watch for this, and
Whoa.
not to age you again, Modern Mythos, but I was 10 at the time,
Oh my
and
god.
I thought it was too loud, and I mean, I was a kid there, kind of freaked me out. I hated it. I completely hated it. I didn't touch it for I think 5, 6 years until Ty begged me to watch it again and was like, "Dude, you're gonna love it." And I finally came around, and this is, I think, the perfect Superman movie as far as we have today. Who knows about Superman Legacy or anything like that? But I mean, there are so many great moments, so many great scenes in this. The one that always stands out to me is Costner holding out his hand, telling Clark to stay hidden there. That scene always sends goosebumps down my spine. But Sean, what's your best moment or scene from Man of Steel?
Yeah, I love to hear that from both of you guys. I feel like I haven't been in the same room with more than one person that everyone's kind of agreed that they like enjoy the movie. So this is very fun for me. Agreed on the lack of like the campiness and stuff. I know that's a lot of it's kind of like a signature of its time with the older Reeves movies. So I've grown to appreciate them for what they are. But agree, Henry Cavill is absolutely my Superman. Just feels very different. As far as scenes go, agreed. I was going to throw on the Kevin Costner scene. I think a lot of people hate that. That is like one of the main scenes that people say or they throw at you for like hating the movie or saying why it's bad or saying why they don't get Superman. They just say, oh, they should have just had him die with a heart attack like the comics do. And for me, I was like, I thought it was so powerful because yeah, it's just Clark like trusting his dad, like his dad was right, So it's like that whole scene of like the most powerful man in the world trusting his dad, like it's just so touching to me. And then I just like the collection of him being a wanderer, like kind of the same where you see like
Mm,
Drifter Batman in the Batman. You kind of see like Clark wander the globe and like find himself, and you feel that like coming of age, and like it just felt so interesting to me, so unique seeing him like help out these random people while he's trying to find the origin of himself. And then the last scene that always comes to me is when he snaps Zod's neck. Like that to me, and I don't like it just because yeah, action, cool, he's killing someone, but like I like it because it's so weighted. And the people who are like, oh, it's bad, he would never do that, like they don't pay attention to how much it affects him in that scene. And to me, it's like you see how much he fucking hated doing that. Like he tried so hard. The movie tells you over and over again, this guy is going to burn the earth to the ground. And he's like begging him, crying, don't do this. He's like, I'm going to kill everyone you love. Has to do it. And his scream like echoes throughout the entire universe. So like that's to me is so weighted, so interesting. And that like kicks him off on this journey of like, no, I have to be better. I have to be Superman. So I just, those three scenes to me, or collection of scenes, is so important.
all great choices. That Zod scene is another one where I haven't really gotten the hate. I know that the whole kind of third act is generally very mixed reviews there. But what about you, Ty? What's your favorite scene?
Clearing away, I think him defending his mom when the Kryptonians come to the house, throw the car into the barn. He's got her by the neck, and Clark just comes zooming in like a missile. You think you can threaten my mother? And then
Awesome.
they duke it out at the gas station.
I don't know if you are familiar with Sean Fennessy Mythos, but but he made a letterbox review for this movie that said, "I can't believe that Clark really said like not my mommy. That was a low point in like cinema history or something like that." And I was ready to strangle him.
It's like yeah, it's so power like that's the whole point is like the parenthood and how much they mean to him and why like those two people turned him into this great person, like the beacon of hope. Like, and he's just, I don't know. That's they made this guy like a god, and then also where they literally have religious symbolism throughout the entire movie, and then walk it back and show you like, yeah, he cares about his mom. Like that's all he cares about. That's all he has. And like for that to be like a war cry to me was just so fucking cool. Like flies in like he's Goku or something. Like the action looks like they're all Super Saiyans. Like it all looks perfect. And yeah, I agree. That scene's awesome.
It's so good, and I think we've done a pretty good job at talking about the tone, the grit, the emotions of this movie. But the other thing that always makes it stand out for me is the soundtrack. I mean, you have Flight, you have so many classics from this. Ty, you got to see a couple of them live, but what is your favorite track from the movie?
My favorite track, it's tough. I Flight I think is obviously the best one. Um but I always keep coming back to the what are you going to do when you change the world at the end, like the whole final sequence of him accepting who he is, feeling involved, feeling like he's part of humanity. They don't show his face, they show him biking to work. You know, he's go like and you just hear that welling and swelling in the background, you know, and then he just like ends with him like smiling, welcome to the planet, a little cheesy, but like you need it. And then like that music just hits when the screen goes black. Like that sound to me, that song
Oh
is
yeah.
beautiful. So like, yeah, I could close my eyes with this movie and just know exactly where I am throughout the entire time. So I think those two, and then DNA always gets me as well.
Nice. All good choices. Ty, what about you?
Honorable mention, all of those are in my top three. I think what are you going to do when you're not saving the world is my favorite of those choices. But honorable mention to the actual song that they play. Seasons by Chris Cornell is played during those Wanderer montages when he's jogging out of the water, just
Yep.
jacked and puts the flannel on. That is a go-to on the way to the gym to convince myself I'm Superman, to convince myself I'm Clark Kent.
I might have to start doing that. That's like a great motivation book. So I listen to the soundtrack in the gym, but now I'm gonna have to like picture myself being Drift or Superman, you know,
Gotta
packing it
gotta get
up.
your flannel going.
When
Hell
that
yeah.
dude walks out of the water, by the way, I mean, holy shit! Like I'm like that's like workout motivation. I went to the gym right after that.
How is he natty? It's beyond me.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Um, I feel like you guys already took all my choices here, so I'm just going to give an honorable mention out to Superman Rising from ZSJL because I do think that that's
Oh,
the Superman track, at least that I come back to the most outside of this movie.
Beautiful.
Um, and speaking of, I want to hear your Snyder trilogy rankings. The Batman versus Superman, I feel like, is even more divisive than Man of Steel. And Zack Snyder's Justice League also kind of jury is out. So what's your 1 through 3 there?
It's tough. I feel like if you catch me on any different day, I might give you a different order. But honestly, right now, I have Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I always have to throw that out there. The extra 30 minutes always matters so much to me when they're like layering in the story. That's going to be three. At two, I'm going to have Zack Snyder's Justice League, and at one, I'm going to have Man of Steel. Um, it's not they're not super far apart. I think Man of Steel is just so influential to me, so that'll probably always stay one. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, I've seen it 3 times now, and that thing just when it's right, it is so right. There are people who like either won't watch it because it's too long, or they're like, oh, it's Zack Snyder, who cares anymore because it's like cool to hate him and shit. But I just think like that movie is like perfect superheroes when it's clicking, and it's clicking for me like almost all the time. So that would be my three, and I like BVS more than most people. I think I have it like a 4.5 out of 5. So I do very much enjoy that movie.
Hey, we love a BVS respecter here. Ty, what are your three?
Yeah, I think that both of us are hardcore BVS truthers, but I would go Ultimate Edition at three, and then Man of Steel and ZSJL. You can swap any given day, but I'd probably go Man of Steel 2, ZSJL 1. I think that's one of my favorite blast experiences with a movie ever. Just the fact that there was all of that content just in the ether for years, and it came back and was 100 times better than Justice League. That dumpster fire to create something that special was it's hard to beat that.
Hey, I mean, we send Cyborg Becoming how many times a
Oh,
week to each other?
magical.
Yeah, it's amazing. I am copying your list, Ty. I have BVS at three, followed by Man of Steel, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League. But all are 9 or 10 out of 10s for me. Ty, I think you had a question though that you really wanted to ask Mythos here.
Well, I mean, we're talking about great superhero and Snyder cut projects or Snyderverse projects, but there was a crazy what if that The Rock teased at the end of Black Adam. And I'm just curious if you think Man of Steel versus Black Adam would have been the greatest superhero project of all time.
Listen, I think it's a very weighted question. I think it obviously would have changed the hierarchy of the DC universe as we know it. But I think it would have been dog shit. I think The Rock is a psychopath for even suggesting and trying to like strong arm himself into doing all of this. But I can appreciate like the hustle and grind. That is a madness pull. I need to like in 20 years. I hope someone writes a book or does a doc on like the inner workings of Warner Bros. And how all of this shit shook out on the back end. Like, did they even know that they had Henry Cavill shoot a scene at the like? I'm willing to bet that they had no idea. Like, so yeah, that I don't. That was such a weird era of time where everyone's like, "Wait, is he coming back?" And then he announced that he's coming back. He's like excited to put the suit on again. I was like, "Wait, what? Like, is this actually happening for Black Adam?"
Can't make it up. They were
Crazy.
The Rock just pulling all the strings, basically like Palpatine for a year at DC before it all came crumbling down. But we are, and when I mean we, strictly me, are ironic Dwayne The Rock Johnson fans over here. We were big on going to see Red One in IMAX, so had to give Black Adam its flowers.
Big on that, huge on Moana too. Um, I wanted to end this out with a personal question. I think that really everybody has a different answer to. What is your favorite superhero, Sean, and why?
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty stereotypical here with this one. Like I have, fringe favorites, but if I have to pick a top two, three, one, it's gonna be Batman, it's gonna be Superman, and it's gonna be Spider-Man. Like I have Spider-Man Across Spider-Verse poster here. I've got a Man of Steel poster here. I've got 10 Batman comics sitting next to me on my desk. When I come back and I read comics or I'm looking into lore or anything, like those three heroes just mean so much to me for various reasons. Whether it's learning how to better yourself, it's learning like seeing yourself through someone. With Spider-Man, you kind of get the everyman type storyline, the how am I holding all this all together. With Batman, you're like, I don't know, it's very like introspective, and you're learning a lot about like the villains and how they mirror yourself. And I think there's a lot of cool stories in there. And then with Superman, he's just the beacon of hope. And what I like about Man of Steel, and they kind of make him a little bit more relatable than maybe he doesn't seem to be in some comics. And then so that kind of helped me branch out into reading All Star Superman and Kingdom Come and all these other types of stories. So those three, it's kind of a not a fun answer, but those are my three.
Nice. I mean, they're all respectable answers, though. Ty, what about you?
I'll shake it up then. This has been a recent development for me, but I am going to say Invincible only because I feel like it's a nice blend of both Spider-Man and Superman. You have this Peter Parker-esque character that has all of the powers of Superman, but not only one is afraid to utilize them, but two doesn't understand his full potential yet. And it's all of not only him developing as a human, but him developing as a superhero as well. I think that by the end of that show, he will be at the top of people's lists of best superhero.
Love that.
I set you up perfectly there for a Black Adam, but I'll take I'll take Invincible too. My favorite, just quickly, is of course Batman. I love all of the movies, all of the animated movies too. Doom That Came to Gotham, recent bright spot, but I got to give Cyborg a shout out here. Cyborg in ZSJL is one of the best characters in comic movie history, I believe. But thanks so much, Sean, for coming on here, giving your takes, giving us some of your time. And we really hope we can get you back on sometime. Everyone listening, be sure to check out Sean on TikTok at Modern Mythos and check out some of his content. Are there any other socials you want to shout out or anything else you want to say before we let you go here?
Yeah, I'm trying to be better on every social media. I'm like trying to post on Instagram a little bit more, same handle. I'm on Letterboxd. I'm going to work on YouTube a little bit in 2025. That's going to be a New Year's resolution for me. I also have a movie and TV newsletter that I was running for a while that I put a pause on last year. So I'm going to try to get that back up and running. So that's all fun. I'm going to try to keep building that out. I really appreciate you guys having me on. This is really fun. Any chance I get to talk about Snyder, Man of Steel is a big thing for me. And I really love what you guys are doing, love what you're building. And I think Blast is a really, really cool concept. And I think it works very well adjacent to some other different apps as well. So I can't wait to see you guys build next.
Thank you so much. And once again, everybody go check out his content. He's got some really good stuff out there. And have a great rest of your week.